Amanda Stone, one of Chicago's most respected attorneys, thought she had seen it all in the courtroom. But when she is called to defend Josh Hayes, a young man accused of murdering millionaire businessman Richard Holloway, she begins to question everything she knows. The evidence against Josh is too strong to be true, and something about the case doesn't add up. As Amanda delves deeper into the investigation, she realizes there are powerful forces operating behind the scenes. Someone is manipulating the system, and the consequences could be devastating. With time running out and her own life in danger, Amanda must find the answers before it's too late. But how far is she willing to go in the name of truth? And when the veil finally falls, will she be prepared for what she discovers? Amanda Stone looked out over the city of Chicago from her office on the 24th floor. The lights flickered as rush-hour traffic spread through the avenues, but her thoughts were far away. The Josh Hayes case was consuming her attention. Accused of murdering Richard Holloway, an influential businessman, Josh was the perfect target, young, with a history of petty crimes and no clear alibi on the night of the crime. All the evidence pointed to him. Josh's fingerprints were found on the murder weapon, and there was a witness who swore they saw him near Holloway's house shortly before the body was found. But Amanda, famous for her sharp intuition, felt that something didn't fit. There was something in the way Josh defended his innocence, with genuine desperation and the certainty that he was being wrongly framed. The next day, Amanda visited the crime scene for the first time. Holloway's mansion, an isolated estate in an elite neighborhood, was empty and surrounded by yellow tape. As she walked through the place, something caught her attention. Holloway's body had been found in the living room, but there were no signs of a struggle. It was as if he had been taken by surprise, or was expecting it. Back at the office, Amanda began to review every detail of the case. During the analysis, she discovered something that no one seemed to have noticed. The neighborhood security camera footage did not show Josh entering or leaving the house that night. Even more intriguing, the videos around the time of the crime were mysteriously missing. Feeling she was facing a conspiracy, Amanda began to follow her instincts. While digging through court files, she found information buried in a footnote. Holloway was being investigated for large-scale financial fraud and money laundering. The businessman was involved in illegal dealings with several politicians and businessmen. Could this be connected to his murder? Before Amanda could proceed with her investigation, an anonymous message appeared on her phone. "Be careful where you step. You're meddling in something much bigger than you think." Sensing danger approaching, Amanda knew there was only one way to find the truth. Something was being covered up, and time was running out for her. Amanda knew that the anonymous message was a clear warning that she was on the right path, or dangerously wrong. Even so, it only fueled her determination. She needed to understand what really happened to Richard Holloway and, most importantly, why Josh was being so quickly framed. She decided to visit the place where Josh was being held. In prison, Josh looked dejected, but his eyes lit up when he saw Amanda. "You believe me, don't you?" he asked, almost pleading. "I'm beginning to see that there's something very wrong with this case, Josh," Amanda replied in a low, firm voice. "But I need you to tell me absolutely everything about that night." Josh took a deep breath and began to recount, once again, what had happened. He was at home, watching TV, as he had said from the beginning. He had not gone to Holloway's house, did not know the businessman personally, and had no reason to commit the crime. "I'm just a guy who made some mistakes in the past, Amanda. But I would never do that. Someone wants me to pay for a crime I didn't commit." Amanda left the prison with the growing feeling that Josh was telling the truth. However, she needed more evidence, something concrete that would dismantle the prosecution's narrative. Upon returning to the office, an unexpected call made her stop in her tracks. The voice on the other end was serious and tense. "If you want answers, you need to look into Holloway's past. He wasn't the man everyone thinks he was. Find Donovan." Before Amanda could ask anything, the line went dead. She felt a chill run down her spine. Who was Donovan, and why would he be important to the case? Wasting no time, Amanda began searching for any reference to Donovan in Holloway's files. After several hours of research, she finally found a clue. Donovan was a former employee of Richard Holloway, fired months before his death. No one seemed to know the reason for the dismissal, but the records indicated that Donovan had disappeared shortly after being let go. It seemed that he, too, had a lot to hide. Determined to track him down, Amanda found an old address associated with Donovan, a modest house on the outskirts of Chicago. When she arrived at the place, the house looked abandoned. However, when she knocked on the door, she was surprised by a middle-aged man with deep, tired eyes. "I knew someone would come," he said, without even greeting her. "Are you Donovan?" Amanda asked, trying to stay calm, though her heart was racing. He nodded, opening the door for her to enter. The house was dimly lit, the smell of cigarettes and alcohol lingering in the air. "If you're here, it's because you already know that Holloway wasn't murdered the way they said," he stated, with a heavy expression. Amanda was shocked. "What do you mean, he wasn't murdered?" Donovan lit a cigarette, took a deep drag, and said, "Holloway faked his own death." Amanda was silent for a few seconds, trying to absorb Donovan's words. "Holloway faked his own death," she repeated, as if she couldn't believe it. Donovan nodded, releasing a cloud of smoke into the air. He had been preparing to disappear for months. He was involved in things much bigger than anyone imagined. Money laundering, blackmail, extortion, he controlled many powerful people. When he realized that the federal investigation was closing in, he decided that the only way out was to disappear. But not without first leaving a scapegoat in his place. "Josh?" Amanda asked, already knowing the answer. "Exactly," Donovan confirmed. Josh was the perfect choice. A past with petty crimes, no influential family to defend him. He was someone easy to manipulate, easy to frame. They planted the evidence to ensure he would be quickly convicted while Holloway disappeared with millions of dollars. Amanda felt a wave of indignation rise within her. Josh was being condemned for a crime that never occurred, just to cover up a much larger conspiracy. But how did he do it? Where's the body they found in the house? Donovan extinguished his cigarette and leaned forward, his face now visible in the dim light of the room. The body they found was a homeless man that Holloway recruited months before. Someone who wouldn't be missed or claimed. He paid the man, promising a large sum of money in exchange for a simple task. That homeless man went to the house that night, believing he would receive his share. But instead, he was drugged, placed in the position Holloway needed, and left there to be found. Amanda leaned back in her chair, her heart pounding. "Do you have any way to prove this? It's not enough to just tell me. I need proof if I'm going to save Josh and take down these criminals." Donovan stood up and walked over to a shelf. He pulled out a small flash drive and handed it to Amanda. "Here are bank records, emails, and recorded conversations that Holloway couldn't erase before he disappeared. This will tie everything together, the money transfers, the illegal transactions, and the communications with Randolph." Hearing the prosecutor's name, Amanda was on alert. "Randolph? The prosecutor who's trying Josh?" "The very same," Donovan said, with a bitter smile. "Randolph isn't just helping to convict Josh. He was one of Holloway's accomplices. Holloway knew too much about Randolph's schemes, so in the end, Randolph helped him fake his death in exchange for silence and a cut of the money." Amanda felt the gravity of the situation weigh on her shoulders. She was facing a conspiracy that involved not only Holloway but also the justice system that was supposed to protect the innocent. Now, with the flash drive in hand, she had the proof she needed, but it put her in much greater danger than she had ever imagined. "You need to be careful," Donovan warned. "If they find out you have this evidence, they won't hesitate to come after you. And they won't be afraid to get their hands dirty." Amanda stood up, placing the flash drive in the inner pocket of her jacket. "I know," she said, with renewed determination. "But that won't stop me. Josh isn't going to pay for something he didn't do." As she left Donovan's house, she felt adrenaline course through her body. The truth was finally starting to come to light, but the danger was also closing in. More than just Josh's freedom was at stake, Amanda's own life was now on the line. With the flash drive in hand, Amanda knew she had to act quickly. At any moment, Randolph and his accomplices could discover that she had the evidence and try to eliminate her. Before making any moves, she decided to seek out a trusted ally. She thought of Peter Langston, her mentor and retired judge, someone who had spent his life fighting corruption and who always said, "There is no greater mistake than giving up when the truth is within your reach." Amanda drove to Peter's house in the Chicago suburbs. When he greeted her, he was visibly concerned to see the serious expression on her face. "Amanda, what happened? You look like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders." She wasted no time and explained everything she had discovered: Holloway's plan to fake his death, the conspiracy to frame Josh, and the connection between Randolph and the missing businessman. Peter listened attentively, without interrupting, his face growing more tense with each revelation. "This is much bigger than just an unsolved murder case," Peter finally said. "You're dealing with powerful and dangerous people. Randolph is just one piece of something much larger." "I know," Amanda replied firmly. "But I'm not going to let Josh pay for this. I need help to ensure that this evidence is used correctly. I can't trust the system. They have Randolph inside the court, and he's manipulating everything." Peter took a deep breath and leaned back in his chair. "You're right not to trust. If you take this evidence to court without solid protection, they'll destroy you. We need a way to expose everything without making you the target. I'll get in touch with some people at the FBI, folks who still work for justice and can ensure your safety and the integrity of the evidence. Amanda agreed, knowing it was her best chance. What about Josh's trial? It's only days away, and Randolph will push for a quick conviction. Peter thought for a moment, then stood up. That gives us an advantage. Use the trial as bait. Make Randolph believe you're only focused on defending Josh, while behind the scenes, we'll prepare the groundwork to expose the whole truth. It was a risky plan, but Amanda knew there was no other way. If she wanted to save Josh, she had to act quickly and meticulously. She left Peter's house with a racing heart, but with a clear strategy in mind. For the next 48 hours, Amanda and Peter worked tirelessly, preparing Josh's defense and coordinating with Peter's contacts at the FBI to secure protection. Meanwhile, Randolph continued his relentless campaign to ensure a conviction, unaware that his own downfall was being orchestrated behind the scenes. The night before the trial, Amanda received a phone call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was cold and threatening. You thought we didn't know what you're doing? You're playing with fire, Amanda. And if you keep going, you'll get burned. Amanda hung up the phone, her heart racing. They knew. Randolph was aware that she was close to exposing everything, and now the threats were becoming more direct. She took a deep breath and looked out the window of her office. The city of Chicago seemed calm, but Amanda knew the calm was just a facade for the storm that was about to break. The day of Josh's trial finally arrived. Amanda entered the courtroom with nerves on edge but determined to follow the plan she and Peter had devised. The courtroom was packed with journalists, onlookers, and Randolph's colleagues, all expecting a quick conviction. Josh, sitting next to Amanda, looked more lost than ever. It's going to be okay, she whispered to him. I promise. Across the room, Randolph displayed his usual confidence. He had control of the situation, or so he thought. As he presented his case, he painted Josh as a career criminal who, in a fit of rage, killed Holloway for revenge or money. His narrative was compelling, and the jury seemed to buy into the story. But Amanda knew the real blow would come during the defense. When it was her turn to speak, Amanda stood up and began to build Josh's defense with a clear strategy. First, she dismantled the physical evidence, questioning the lack of clear security footage and the perfection of the fingerprints on the gun. Every detail seemed increasingly planted, and the jury began to waver. Then Amanda delivered the strongest blow. She called Donovan as a surprise witness. His entrance into the courtroom caused an immediate stir. He looked nervous, but he knew this was his only chance to tell the truth. Under oath, Donovan revealed everything about Holloway's plan to fake his death, detailing how the businessman manipulated events, framing Josh to secure his escape. Richard Holloway is alive, Donovan declared loudly. He planned everything. I saw the preparations. He paid a man to serve as his body, and he planted all the evidence against Josh. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Randolph, who until then had remained calm, began to visibly sweat. He tried to interrupt the testimony, but Amanda was prepared. The prosecutor is trying to silence a witness who exposes the truth, she asserted, addressing the judge directly. Before chaos could take over the courtroom, Amanda called her final witness, Elizabeth Carter, FBI agent. When she entered the courtroom with a folder full of documents and evidence from the flash drive Amanda had given Peter, the tension in the air became palpable. Mr. Randolph, Elizabeth began, the FBI has been investigating you for months. We have enough evidence to arrest you for conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and for your role in Richard Holloway's fake death. Randolph was speechless. Amanda smiled internally. The plan had worked. While the prosecutor was being unmasked, the jury watched in shock. These proofs include emails, bank transfers, and recorded conversations between Mr. Randolph and Richard Holloway, Elizabeth continued, handing the evidence to the judge. Your Honor, we request that this trial be immediately suspended and that a full investigation be launched into Prosecutor Randolph's actions. The courtroom was in turmoil. The judge, faced with the new information, agreed to suspend Josh's trial and ordered Randolph's immediate arrest. Amanda looked at Josh, who seemed confused but relieved. He would be freed, and the truth about Holloway was finally coming to light. However, there was an unsettling feeling that this was not yet the end. Holloway was still somewhere, free, and Amanda knew he wouldn't stay hidden forever. With Randolph in custody and Josh about to be released, Amanda felt a rare sense of victory. But the case was far from closed. Richard Holloway was still missing, living somewhere under a new identity. Knowing this, Amanda couldn't rest. She knew that Holloway, an extremely calculating man, had planned every detail of his escape with precision. However, he hadn't counted on her persistence. Outside the courthouse, Amanda met with Elizabeth Carter, the FBI agent who had been crucial in exposing Randolph. Now that he's in custody, what's the next step? Amanda asked, feeling there was still much to be done. Elizabeth, always meticulous, handed Amanda a file with additional documents. We have more leads on Holloway's whereabouts. We believe he's hiding in Central America under a false identity. With Randolph's arrest, Holloway will realize he's not as safe as he thought, and that could force him to make a mistake. Amanda quickly skimmed through the documents, but her mind was beyond the words on the paper. There was something about all of this that didn't make sense. If Holloway had really planned his death so carefully, why leave clues that would lead to him? Something wasn't right. Suddenly, Amanda received a message on her phone. He's closer than you think. It was from an unknown number, and the sense of danger returned to haunt her. Do you think Holloway could be closer, maybe still in the country? Amanda asked Elizabeth, showing her the message. The agent became serious. If that's true, it means he's monitoring our every move. That puts all of us at risk. But Amanda, if he's close, that also makes him vulnerable. That night, Amanda returned to her apartment with the feeling that she was being watched. Her eyes scanned the streets below, searching for something out of the ordinary. Fear tried to take hold, but the determination to uncover the truth kept her focused. She knew that Holloway could be closer than she imagined. Days later, while investigating more about Holloway's contacts, Amanda was surprised by a call from Peter Langston. Amanda, there's something you need to know. I made some calls, and it seems that Holloway was recently seen in Chicago. Amanda froze. Chicago? That doesn't make sense. Why would he risk staying in the city? Peter hesitated before continuing. It could be that he's hiding in plain sight, using the very city to camouflage himself. But you need to be careful. If he knows you're after him, he'll try to stop you. Amanda hung up the phone, her heart racing. Holloway was nearby, and the net was closing in. She had to find him before he disappeared for good. The next morning, Amanda received a new message. Want answers? Go to the address at the end of Carson Street, tonight at midnight. Come alone. Knowing it could be a trap, Amanda still couldn't resist. It was her only chance to confront Holloway directly. As night fell, she prepared for the meeting, carrying only the essentials and keeping Elizabeth and Peter informed. When she arrived at the location, an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, the environment was desolate, with the cold wind howling through the cracked concrete walls. Walking slowly through the empty building, Amanda heard footsteps echoing in the distance. She stopped, her heart pounding. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness. You've gone too far, Amanda, said a familiar voice. It was Richard Holloway, standing before her, alive and seemingly unbothered. Amanda felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. Before her stood the man everyone believed to be dead. Richard Holloway, alive, cold, and calculating as ever. He smiled disturbingly, as if he had been one step ahead all along. Surprised? Holloway asked, with an air of superiority. I believe you have many questions, Amanda. She remained firm, even with her heart racing. You faked your own death and framed an innocent young man. Why? You already had all the power and money you wanted. Why hide? Holloway took a step forward, studying Amanda with his piercing eyes. Power and money are never enough. When the government started closing in, I realized my only way out was to disappear, but it wasn't just to save myself. It was to ensure that no one, not you, not the FBI, no one, could touch me. He took a slow turn around Amanda, like a predator circling its prey. Randolph was just a pawn. And Josh? Just a necessary sacrifice to ensure no one followed the right tracks. I knew someone like you would come along, trying to uncover everything, but I underestimated how close you could get. Amanda stared him down, not backing away. And now? What do you plan to do, Holloway? The truth is already out. Randolph has been arrested. The FBI is after you. It won't be long before they find you. He smiled again, this time with a dark expression. Do you really think this is over, Amanda? I always have a card up my sleeve. And for you, I have an offer. You have two options. You can continue playing this dangerous game and risk your own life, or you can simply give up. Imagine what I can offer you. Power. Money. Immunity. It doesn't have to end here. Amanda felt a mix of disgust and temptation. It was the kind of offer that would destroy her integrity but save her life. Holloway was offering what many would desire, a chance to escape unscathed, to benefit from the entire corrupt network. I'm not interested in your money, Holloway, Amanda replied firmly. I'm interested in justice. Josh won't pay for what you did. Holloway stopped, his expression hardening. What a shame, Amanda. I really expected you to be smarter. Now, you force me to take drastic measures. As he began to advance, Amanda heard a sharp sound echoing through the warehouse. A beam of light cut through the darkness, and several voices emerged from different directions. FBI. Hands up. Elizabeth Carter and a team of federal agents stormed the place, surrounding Holloway. He raised his hands, realizing he had been cornered. His look of contempt turned to Amanda as the agents handcuffed him. You may have caught me today, Holloway said, his voice icy, but believe me, Amanda, this is far from over. There are more players in this game than you can imagine. As he was taken away, Amanda felt the weight of everything that had happened. Josh would finally be freed, and Holloway would face justice. But Holloway's last words echoed in her mind. Could this conspiracy go deeper than she ever imagined? She left the factory with Elizabeth by her side. It was a risky move, Amanda, the agent said, but you did it. Amanda looked at the dark Chicago skyline. I managed to expose Holloway, but something tells me we don't know everything yet. And when this web is fully dismantled, many more will fall. Elizabeth nodded. That's the price of challenging power, Amanda. But for now, you've secured justice for Josh and exposed the city's biggest criminal. That's already a great victory. As Amanda walked away, she knew the battle wasn't over, but for today, justice had prevailed. What if you were Richard Holloway? With power and money at your disposal, would you be able to fake your own death, manipulate the system, and still get away with it? The truth is, in the real world, those who operate in the shadows know the weaknesses of the system. The question is, would you have the intelligence and cold-bloodedness to escape the clutches of justice, as Holloway attempted? How would you handle allies who might betray you, evidence that needs to disappear, and an unrelenting attorney on your trail? Share your thoughts in the comments. How would you ensure your impunity? And don't forget, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss the next thrillers filled with intrigue, conspiracies, and power plays.